These are called three gentlemen trees. That means they're very desirable trees for landscaping. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. And what's behind me is my bougainvillea in the back of my house. And it's all the way up to the second floor. And it's blooming beautifully. And I know there's a lot of interest in making bougainvillea into a bonsai. And I think the trick is to really keep it in full bright sun. In the summertime, they bloom. If they don't get enough sun, they just grow leaves and no blossom. So the first question is easier to start from a seed or a cutting? Well, that's an easy one. Both are easy for the right tree. Of course, that's mostly for deciduous trees like maples and elm and so forth. That's really easy from cuttings. Whereas evergreen like pine and cedar and so forth, it's very difficult to grow by cuttings. And the yield is probably extremely low, a few percentage at best. So with that in mind, then decide what you use based on the possibility. On the other hand, if like deciduous tree that can be propagated both ways, it's definitely by cutting, because you can start with a much thicker trunk and less time to develop into a bonsai. The question is decide which branch is the apex. So like last week when I showed the tree, generally the word apex is to mean the top of a tree. And if you look at every tree, well, every tree has a top. Therefore, apex, usually you pick it near the top. But what happens is sometimes when you cut the top off, there are a lot of branches, and some goes out that way, and some comes up directly on top of where you cut. And you want the tree to go that way, and or well, for that matter, you want to create some curve. Then what you do is you actually pick a branch that's a little bit less in the top, and then let it grow up. Then that becomes the highest point, and then you use that as a side branch to go down. So depends. So it's again no big deal, but try to decide some point in time after you have kind of the orientation of the bonsai fixed, then figure out where do you want the top to be, because you want to blend that into the natural rind into the rest of the curve. The next one is how often should bonsai be repotted? Well, that's a very good question. It depends, right? It depends. So if you use my soil mix and combine with my root pruning technique, which is putting a mesh screen below, you really don't have to repot your trees at all, almost. And if you do repot, it's really easy to pop it out of the pot and cut off all around the rim and shake off all the dirt, and you got all these fibrous roots to replant again really quick. On the other hand, if you use akadama, if you don't repot it frequently, what happens is that the roots go into the akadama, and also there's some claim about akadama will break down some over time. You wind up with a very solid lump, like a piece of rock. And then you can see all the videos or the bonsai book using a chopstick or steel something to comb out all of the soil, which could take several hours. So depends. So for akadama, I suspect, I don't use akadama. I suspect it's a good idea to repot it every less than 5 years, so before they really gumped up. And so, that's the choice, what you use. The next set of questions is that what material to use for bonsai. One question is, can you use bamboo for bonsai? And the answer is yes and no. First of all, bonsai just means a potted plant for decorative purposes. So in Asia, for example, it's very popular to plant the Buddha belly bonsai where it becomes lumps. It's really kind of cute. They can get quite tall. So typically it's planted in a big pot and set in a garden. So that's a bonsai. That's fine. Generally, bamboos are kind of large. In the wilderness, I found that bamboo pretty short because bamboo is just really a grass. So there's a bamboo-like grass, that bamboo-like grass that are pretty short. So that can be fit into a small bonsai pot. And of course, there are all kinds of bonsai all kinds of bamboo you can pick to make into a bonsai. Generally, there are three trees that are in Asia that revere as the very desirable trees. One is pine, black pine. One is ume, which is the Prunus mume, and then one is bamboo. These are called three gentleman trees. That means they're very desirable trees for landscaping. Have you anyone tried to make bonsai tree out of a cypress tree? Well, of course, that's the dwarf Japanese cypress. Hinoki is definitely a very favorite bonsai material. So again, when you talk about a species of a tree, there are some with a bigger leaves and some has faster growth, some with less growth. So pick the ones that's more to your scale. I'm new to bonsai. Can I make bonsai from herbaceous perennials? Yes, I've done several video showing how to make a bonsai out of rosemary, for example. That's very desirable because some types of rosemary get very tall and you can get a trunk that almost look like California juniper trunk, very rugged and interesting curves. And so that's a wonderful bonsai, and it's nothing more than consider a perennial. Just pick perennials that are long-lived. It's not very good to pick perennials that are short-lived. Then you have to change, start over again. How about fruit trees? Can fruit trees flower and then born fruits? And the answer is yes, definitely. Witness dwarf pomegranate. That's a very desirable bonsai tree. And I personally really like the crabapple. Because they're beautiful flower in the spring. And then the fruits, and if you pick the right varieties, the fruits come in all different sizes, from a half an inch to quarter of an inch even, to like a 1 inch, 1.5 inches diameter, which makes it very interesting. Again, you want to design a tree to scale. And some of those varieties, the fruit will hang onto the tree for a very long time. I have issues with basically some insects eating my soft growth. And can you talk generally about how to manage pesticide? Well, I think if you have a particular pesticide you want to deal with, go to your local nursery and ask questions, bring a sample and ask them, and they will have a very specific recommendation for you. So, and on the web. So I avoided really toxic spray. And so, for example, in my indoor cycad, for years, I sprayed, and most I will go to, I forgot what the name is, but it's a very mild spray. But I tried to spray alcohol and mineral oil and all that, and I must have fought the darn thing for over 15, 20 years, and I still have mealybugs on them. Well, I finally got fed up, and I started to use malathion, which is actually a pretty mellow insecticide, and literally 3 sprays later, less than 6 months, they all gone away. No more problem from that point on forward. So I think it's a trade-off between you want to be totally organic or be a little bit tough and just do the thing. I think everything in life is a balance, no extremism. The next question was like mostly related to me cutting off a big branch. You know, in life it's give to get. I give freely, trying to share my knowledge about bonsai. And in the process, I wind up learning. And so, for example, for a long time, I've been saying, grow a tree in the ground, let it get tall, and then cut it off, shoot out the branch. And so in some sense, I imply, and I think, and I imply, I thought and I imply, that the trunk will grow much thicker growing up straight. And then you cut off to create the next level of taper. So for oak, to answer the question directly, have I ever air layer an oak tree? I have not because of that. And also there are abundant volunteer oak trees popping up in my garden. I don't need to do that. But on the other hand, so that's why I just chop it off and go from it. But in addressing this question, it made me realize that actually how much growth that the whole tree will get, whether it's a trunk, long, tall trunk, or short trunk, is determined by the root system. Therefore, if you cut off the tree, the more of the nutrient, instead of going up, will be staying down to fatten the tree even a little bit more so than if you kept the whole tree. So today I will tell you, yes, I think oak tree can be propagated by air layering. Most trees can, but I have never done it, so I can tell you yes or no. And by all means, try it. If it works, please feedback to us, but don't let it dry out and screw up your experiment and say, well, it doesn't work. So again, pay attention to the watering of this, keep the where you grow it moist, so that it will not root out and it will dry out. It may take a little long, but I suspect it will root out. So finally, to modify what I've been saying all along, is instead of growing a tree tall, cut it short to about where, a little bit lower than where you want it to be, and then keep covering, don't worry about it. It's a root that will thicken the overall tree. And then the last one is that more organic material in the soil makes call for less watering. I worry about root rot because some of my trees have too much organic material, and I see more water retention. Well, I really don't think we should dwell on the water retention aspect of it, because that's not the issue. The issue is really keep the roots moist all the time. And so in fact, I would say categorically, any soil mix will work. Any soil mix will work. All the way extreme from no soil, just water, hydroponic, to soil mix of all different kinds, plus lava rock and akadama. They all work so long as you keep the soil moist. And later on, I'll do a Rip Goldberg method of keeping soil moist. And in terms of organic material, yes, organic material can hold not necessarily more than other material. For example, vermiculite can hold a lot more water, and both organic material and vermiculite would decompose. And so I don't think it's organic material per se that holds the water. And in fact, in Asia, many of the bonsai, commercial bonsai, are grown in almost pure sandy clay, actually. It's really clay, but a lot of sand in it, fine sand in it. So anything will grow. And I think about the rotting, I think, for example, I was thinking back about the soil mix I recommend: 1 part sandy loam, 1 part peat moss or coconut coir, and perlite. Just think of it, would any of these 3 components rot to become kind of to rancid for bacteria to grow? I don't think so. And wood chip and all that, one of them will. But on the other hand, if they have meat contamination in the soil mix, then they would disintegrate and become toxic, and bacteria will grow and then cause the tree roots to rot. So I think keep the mixture clean is another consideration. So again, I don't think we should dwell on soil. We should more dwell on watering to keep the soil moist. With that in mind, I thank you for your tuning in, and I hope you find the video informative and click like. I appreciate that. And please subscribe to our channel so we'll notify you of a new video that's of interest. Go to our website to sign on onto our mailing list because we will soon we will start to post what's available for sale, and the quantities will be very limited. I want my audience, you, to get the first shot at it. So please go to our website and get registered. Thank you very much, and see you next week.